Saint Anne is the patron saint of Indigenous Canadians, and the people of Potlotek First Nation have gathered on Chapel Island at the actual chapel for many years to celebrate both what Saint Anne means to the community and to get together with their fellow Mi'kmaq friends, family, and neighbors. We decided to speak this year to one of the organizers for the mission to St. Anne. He's Tom Sylliboy. 2 years ago, he was ordained as a deacon for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Antigonish. But his history with the mission to St. Anne goes many, many years before his ordination. Let's hear Deacon Tom Sylliboy share his story and talk about the upcoming mission to St. Anne right now. And we're pleased to be joined today on Telile 24/7 by Deacon Tom Sylliboy, who is speaking to us from his office in Eskasoni and is one of the key organizers of this year's mission to St. Anne in Potlotek First Nation. Deacon Sylliboy, thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
All right, it's a great pleasure to have you. And you have a lot of history with this event, so you've seen it over the years and been involved at the organizational level. I want to ask you, how difficult is it to make the decision to have an event like this during the pandemic times? We're in phase 4. We've been able to open up a little bit. The gathering limits have been opened up. But can you give me a sense of what went on in terms of the decision-making process between yourself and the other organizers to say, we can go ahead with the event this year? What was involved there?
I think it's mostly the first thing we have to look at was safety people. So when we're going into phase 3, the people, the elders were kind of asking if there's going to be a mission this year. Last year, we didn't have the other reserves, First Nations to come in. But I know the Potlotek First Nation did their mission there, and Eskasoni did their own, and the other reserves did their own missions. That's what happened, but mostly we're trying to kind of really look at, what the others want. So, so we kind of made that decision. The executive of the Grand Council, we sat down and we talked about the procedures of what the province wants. We looked at the safety. So the other organization reserves were kind of saying, okay, we'll help you any way we could. So majority of our people had vaccination. That's going to help out a lot. So in the First Nations, because we had the 2 vaccines, that kind of going to help us to make that. We made that decision because of that our people had vaccination.
Based on statistics that I've been seeing, I do understand that First Nations seem to be leading the rest of the country in terms of getting vaccinations and getting the 2 doses. Did that make it easier for you folks to be able to look and say, we can do this, even if it's with reduced numbers this year? Did that help at all?
When we looked at our First Nations communities, I think it's more, I think it was more, we kind of looked at, I think it's just going back to safety again. It's, we just looked at as that base of just to get together, and our mission has been happening since 1751 when we moved there.
Let's pick up on that a little bit, Deacon Sylliboy, if I could, and talk about the importance of the mission to St. Anne to the people of Potlotek First Nation, but also to Indigenous people all the way around Cape Breton, all the way around Unama'ki, and all the way around the region and the world, really, because you get people coming from great distances to take part. Why do you think that this event is so important and has become so important to the community and to the general Mi'kmaq Nation over the years?
I think it goes back in 1610 when our chief member was baptized in Port Royal. and with his 20 or 22 of his family. And from there, the nations just went in like fire. Everybody got baptized. So in 1629, we adopted Saint Dan as our patron saint. Because in our culture, grandmothers are really very respected in our First Nations. So in other words, Saint Dan is Jesus Christ's grandmother.
Mm.
That's Mary's mom.
Yeah.
So that's why we celebrate, and we go back, and we just celebrate that mission. And obviously, for the missionaries were there 1700s, 1800s, and early 1900s. So, and that's where we are right now with that.
The Diocese of Antigonish has been involved in this mission for several decades. And I mean, we've seen not only many priests come and taking part, but also the bishops through the years have come to the Mass that helps close off the ceremonies. You now have been a deacon of the Catholic Church. Why do you think that this means so much for the Roman Catholic Church and the Diocese of Antigonish to be taking part in this ceremony? What do you think is the importance there?
We invite the First Nations, the Grand Chief, but we invite the priest and the bishop. If the priest is from doing Mass with First Nations member too, we will invite the priest from there, Eskasoni, Chapel Island, you know. We invite the priest, and sometimes the bishop. We invite the bishop, and it's not a, you know, it's not a diocese thing. Mostly the First Nations run it.
They are there as guests by invitation of the First Nations.
Exactly.
We were talking just before we began this interview, Deacon Sylliboy, and you and I actually have a shared history at this event. You were telling me that you first started getting involved back in the early 90s, and I actually covered the mission to St. Anne for the first time in 1993. I was working for CIGO Radio in Port Hawkesbury at the time. It was my first summer there. So we both have known for a long time that this is a special event. So what can you tell me about your personal ties to this event and how it has touched you over the years as you've gone back year after year?
Well, first of all, I will take you back when I was 6 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay. I used to be an epileptic.
Mm.
I used to have epileptics until I was 6 years old. The story is, this is a true story. My grandmother took me to the mission church, say in Chapel Island, on the island. And I remember she was telling me this in Mi'kmaq. Let's pray for St. Dan to intercede, you know, have his grandson to help us. And I remember, this is my mom telling me this. I don't remember when I went to, there's a fountain at the, above the, where when you did those beaches, there's a rock there when they put holy water there.
Mm.
That was made, I think it was 1942, 47 ashore, by Leo J. Keats, and he kind of put the holy water. So what I was told that I was in there, and I don't remember that. Somebody went to get my mom, and from there I got. When I left St. Anne's Mission, that was my last episode of epilepsy. So then I went there every year, and it was not only my testimony, people, our Mi'kmaq people had there.
So many people have experienced it in many different ways over
Every
the
different
years
way.
after that first time that you had it as well, too. Yeah.
Exactly.
You were telling me as well that when you were first involved in an official capacity, you were doing so as part of a police presence that was there. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. I, the Grand Chief approached me. Grand Chief Don Marshall approached me, and he told me that I could give you a job. I told him, sure. I didn't know what it was. I thought I might as well maybe picking up some garbage over there or so, whatever. He said to me that one of our members are retiring today. And I told him, okay. He said, we want you the captains, we've been looking at you, and we would mind you to help us. Sure. So from there, I became chief of police of the Grand Council until 2005. Then I became of the Grand Council. I think the first weekend I wanted to quit because it was too much.
Oh, really?
It was too much fighting going on, drinking. There's a lot of stuff going on. But I think I had, the first year I had around close to 30 security. And I divided maybe 5 or 6 of each reserve to Chapel Island, Eskasoni, Kalma, Bamako.
Yeah.
They helped me. Because why I use that, because they know their people. They know their community members. Yeah. So I kind of used that, and it kind of helped. And over the years, now it's so peaceful now, and but they still have a few incidents, but not violent. So the guy is doing he's doing very well. Yeah, so it's well, it's learning experience as we go, as we had to learn, as I went.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, that kind of thing will happen when there are large crowds there. But as we're wrapping up, you talked a little earlier on about the importance of simply being together. And I think that's something that we can all reflect on, especially as we're into this latest stage of the pandemic. We're having restrictions lifted. We're able to gather in larger groups than we were. How important do you think it is, as we wind things down here, just to have the people have the chance to get together in Potlotek First Nation and literally on Chapel Island for that last mass service as we wind down the mission this year?
You know what? It's so good. It was something like this, for me anyway, personally, even though we didn't have a whole community's mission in Chapel Island. Some went, but there was a lot of precautions going on. It was like, everybody was scared, especially the elders. Elders were scared to go, and children. And so to me, it's so, I'm so glad that, that we made that decision, and I know the Creator will help us, to keep us safe. I have faith.
Well, we hope that's the case. And we've covered a lot of ground here in just a short time, Deacon Sylliboy, and I do appreciate you giving me some time. Did you want to add anything else about all of this just before we wrap up?
No, I just want to say that, pray for us too, and our leaders, we have to work together.
That's Deacon Tom Sylliboy from his office in Eskasoni. We've been speaking to him by Zoom this morning.